Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 418 to 419 for 17 to 18 of April for the Ukraine war in Ukraine, obviously. So let's start off with statements from Mr. Reznikov. He's the Minister of Defense of Ukraine. He says that the Patriots SAMs are here arrived in Ukraine. The Patriots surfaced their emissary to their beautiful Ukrainian sky is becoming safer because Patriot air defense system has arrived in Ukraine. So he put on Twitter. So yeah, so Patriot SAM systems. Yeah. So yeah. So moving on to Bakhmut. So in Bakhmut, I have did a quick update on the main channel on the progress, but of course in the SITREP we go into more details. And the biggest change is actually the front line in the north, where the Russian forces have managed to push further after they broke through the northern defense line, where the Ukrainians previously have the lines somewhere like this. So because the frontline defense has broken, they do not really have a much more stronger defense line in the north at this moment, so the Russians are managing to push through. Fighting is reported at Tobohina Street on the 18th. Previously was at Poromogi Street. It is actually probably still along the Poromogi Street, but they're still fighting along this street, just that it was further behind on the 17th of April. Fighting is along Rodny Street according to SITREP maps, and then Lin reported fighting along the Novonevskoye Street and Kreminna Street according to Ryba, and there is also fighting reported in the area of the grain elevator on the 17th of April, reported by Ryba, and which is actually this area here. The grain elevator is probably this building here. So then there is still fighting near the railway station. So apparently the Ukrainians are still not giving up on the railway stations. They are still continue to make attempts, and which is probably why the front line have not really changed along the railway station region. And so in the south and the southwestern part of the Battle of Bakhmut, we have fighting along the Vipna Street according to Remelin 21, and also at the Hologiv Lane. And on the southwestern edge of the Bakhmut city, we have fighting reported at Tchaikovskogo Street, as well as at generally the southwest. So this region here is not so clear at this moment because the Ukrainians are unwilling to give up. They're consistently sending a reinforcement into this area. Previously, we do know that they have a strong fortified position around this building here, and the Russians are also not giving up. They are continuing to attack, and the fact that there is report of fighting along the Tchaikovskogo Street means that there might be some kind of going around of the fortress that allows them to fight along this front line along the road. So we will continue to monitor and see what is the situation here. There is geolocation of Ukrainian forces at this position. So there's this Ukrainian soldier walking along this area here, and as he take video of him talking with battle sounds in the background, he is in a very, very safe spot, which allows him to just walk around. There is also geolocation of Russian forces at this position, and apparently this video is of the Russian troops. Basically, I think the Wagner troops getting bombarded, and I think someone have died. I didn't really look at the video closely. So fighting is also reported at Kromove on the 17th of April according to Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source. And in the southwestern part, we have fighting at Ivanivsky on the 17th according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Further out, we have fighting near Stuposhki. So Stuposhki is here, and there is a Ukrainian counterattack that the Russians previously have the lines around like this. They have to fall back, but somehow, so this information is coming from SITREP maps, but somehow the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that they are on the defensive as Stuposhki. Both information is on the 18th of April, so not sure what is exactly happening. Wonder if it's just a projection by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. There's also fighting reported towards the Patriots, with the Russian forces continue to make this push. So perhaps the counterattack is to push and put pressure on the rear of the Russians, so that they will actually have to give up the attack towards the Patriots. And moving on further up north, we have fighting reported towards Minkivka, according to Myroshnikov, the pro-Ukrainian source, with the Russians are pushing towards Minkivka, and there is fighting in the north of Zeleniansky. And the information is also coming from Myroshnikov, where the Russians upon reportedly tried to break through Ukrainian defense, but did not work out. So, and that's all from the Bakhmut Front. And moving away from the Bakhmut Front, we go to the Vuhledar region. At the Vuhledar region, there's some excitement going on. There was reinforcement reported at Vuhledar. So this comes after the Ukrainians actually launched some kind of a counter-offensive in the Vuhledar region. Fighting is reported in the north of Mikhailsky, south of Vuhledar, and around Palivka. So the Ukrainian forces, all this information is coming from Ryba, the pro-Russian source. So the Ukrainians attack in this way, in this region, and the Russians managed to hold the line. Attack did not work out, and the Ukrainian forces, of course, being in the offensive and did not work out, suffer losses, and that's why there is this reinforcement, as per reported by Ryba in the later report. The Russian Defense Ministry, the Ryba only reported there was artillery shelling against the Ukrainian attack, and the Russian Defense Ministry on the 18th of April confirmed there is fire damage through artillery and air force onto Ukrainian forces in the area close to Vuhledar. The Russian Defense Ministry did not mention much. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry in their today's morning report, reported that the Russian forces launched an attack towards a Prashestivka, which is actually this position here. So the Russians are making an attack, but obviously it did not work out. So as usual. And moving into Marinka region, there is fighting reported at Marinka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Ryba have more information saying that it's fighting still along the Druzhba Avenue, which is still in the middle of Marinka. So the fighting is still in the middle. And then on the 18th of April, the same information repeats itself. So basically, the fighting is still ongoing, with the Russians are still trying to push through the center somehow. Not sure why is this town so difficult, but yeah, that's what it is. Deep State UA geolocated Russian tank at this position. So this Russian tank actually drove all the way here, and then it fires at the Ukrainian forces, and then there's this Ukrainian drone actually drop a bomb on it, and then it freaks out the tank. The tank remains undamaged. The tank then retreat away from the firing position. So yeah, so that's where it is. The Russians seems not really interested to capture the town, if you ask me, given whatever resources that they have. Yeah, it seems really half-hearted. Moving into the next major front line at Avdiivka. In the Avdiivka region, we have the Russian forces continue to put pressure on the Ukrainians in multiple locations in the Avdiivka front. And similarly, I can't tell for real, what is the actual situation on the ground, because we are only reading the sources and the reports. But it just felt, based on my reporting, it just felt that the Russians just not taking this seriously. They are not really pushing it really hard. So despite the fighting is being reported, maybe they are not really trying very hard to push through. The fighting is reported towards Novokalinove on the 17th and 18th. First reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, then it was reported by Ryba. And Ryba called it west of Novobakhmutivka, whereas the Ukrainian Defense Ministry called it Novokalinove, in the area of Novokalinove. So, and further south, we have fighting reported towards Badaichi, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, with the Russian forces pushing in this direction, Badaichi and Stepove. And the fighting is also reported in the area of Stepove on the 18th of April. They also mentioned fighting reported towards Avdiivka, and based on our experience, is probably the Russian push towards the coke plant from the south of Krasnohorivka region. And there is also in the western part of Avdiivka, we have fighting reported at Severne on the 17th and on the 18th, reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Povomaisky is reported on the 17th by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Then it was reported by Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, for the 18th of April. And the Velsky also see fighting reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So you can see most of the information here is by the Ukrainian sources. The Russians are not really reporting much about this region of this push by the Russians in this area. And the fact that they still have not captured these regions just feels unusual somehow. It just doesn't feel natural at all. And moving on into the Zaporizhia line. So at the Zaporizhia line, Ukrainian forces continue to rumored to be building up in this region as they continue to send reinforcement into the fronts here. And then the Russians reacted by bombarding them. Shelling is being reported at Malak-Tomashka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, at Potovka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry on the 18th, and Novopil as well. Other than that, we do not have any information of anything else happening around here, other than, of course, the usual. They have artillery exchanges all the time. Moving into the Kreminna region, at the Kreminna Front, we have heavy fighting within the Serebranski Forestry region. According to Deep State UA on the 17th and on the 18th, they geolocated Russian forces at this position. So previously, they geolocated, the Russians have captured this area. Then now they say they have captured this area. So the Russians continue to make slow advance in this region. Yeah, it just felt really slow, or the Ukrainians are really, heavily fortifying the forest region. Fighting is reported in the south of Dibrova. According to the Russian Defense Ministry Telegram channel, the press center of the Center Group of Forces reported that the Ukrainian forces attempted to attack the Russian positions near Dibrova, and it was scattered by fighting. They did contact, because there was small arms fire reported, and so they contact the Russian troops, and then they fight it out. And then on the 18th, however, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the same day, however, reported that it is the Russians that is doing the attacking, which is why, sometimes I always say that even the Ukrainians are attacking. For example, the Ukrainians are attacking, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry will still report it as the Russians are attacking. This is something that I've observed many times. And shelling is being reported at Dibrova on the 17th of April, according to the Russian Defense Ministry's Telegram channel. Reports coming from the Center Group of Forces. So, and away from going up into the north, there is the Center Group of Forces also reported the Ukrainians attack in the Yampolivka region. And then shelling is being reported at Terny, according to the Russian Defense Ministry on the 18th of April. That's all from the Kreminna Front. And over at the Siversk Front, just south of it, we have shelling reported at Siversk, according to the Yoke Group of Forces. Reportedly, they are shelling using MLRS, Urgan and Grad MLRS, on concentration of manpower and military hardware. And then nothing's being reported at Kryhorivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and Bilohorivka. The one at Bilohorivka is reported by the Yoke Group of Forces. They said that they shelled a temporary deployment area. This kind of information, I will not report all of them. I just picked some of them, which I think that maybe is a bit more important, because there's way too many of this kind of shelling report. And generally, we cannot really tell whether they have an impact on the front line. And then we have fighting reported at Bilohorivka on the 17th, according to the pro-Russian source Ryba, with the Russian forces making some progress in the south and the southwestern part of Bilohorivka. So, as they mentioned, the battle is still taking place in the southeastern outskirts of the settlement. And interestingly, this is not mentioned by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Yeah, I wonder why. And over at Spurny, we have fighting reported near Spurny on the 17th of April, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So maybe if the information they cannot add was not successful, they will not write it. Maybe. And that's all from the Siversk Front. And moving into the Kupiansk and Svatove Front. So at the Kupiansk Front, we have Ukrainians making another attempt at probing the Russian line at Sinkivka. And according to the Russian Defense Ministry, the group, it was a recon group on the 18th of April. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry, however, reported the day before it was the Russians that was actually making the attack. So the Ukrainians follow up with their own. And shelling is being reported at, according to Ryba, they say that the Russians actually dropped 500 bombs in this area here against Ukrainian positions. Shelling is being reported at Kusherivka as well, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, as well as at Veshelna on the 18th of April. The Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, reported that the Russians are trying to improve their tactical positions in the area. So they probably did some kind of an attack in this area. Small attacks, because it's talking about increasing or improving tactical positions. And moving into the Svatove region, we have shelling reported at Kreminna on the 18th of April. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, the Ukrainians did their probing attacks in the area of Novoselivsky. We're not exactly sure exactly where. And according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And that's all from the Svatove front. And that's all. This is a summary for the day of 418 for the and to 419 for the 17th to 18th of April. Do press the like button, share if you are, if just spam it, you know, just share it everywhere, you know, just say that, you know, this is Hello Kitty, you know, hey, check out this pretty girl, and then just share the link. So and yeah, and then also, you know, do subscribe if you are new to this channel, and I'll see you in the next update.